A lone woman waits for this bus in Kirkenes, on Norway's northern tip off the Barents Sea. It's the very last direct connection still running between Norway and Russia. Why is she here? No comment. Elizaveta Verekina can't board the bus without seriously risking her safety. She had to flee her home in Russia and now lives in exile in Norway. As usual, the bus arrives punctually at 1 p.m. Nearly every other border between Europe and Russia has been closed, but this bus still makes its daily run to Murmansk in northern Russia.
So they kept repeating, please, please don't close. We hope they will not close at least this last route, because otherwise, they told me, families will be torn apart.
Officially, the Norwegian-Russian border has also been closed ever since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But Norway makes one exception for this minibus.
I'm Kirkenes, and I visit my home. That's great.
The 4-hour trip costs about €50. The driver says he takes 5 to 10 passengers every day. Nobody here talks much about politics or the reasons for closing the border. Verekina says Russians from all across Europe take advantage of this direct connection to their home country.
This bus is basically the cheapest and the easiest way actually to get from Norway to Russia. But it's not only Norway, also from other European cities, because I have met people who are from Paris, Stockholm, Helsinki.
And the bus sets off. Only Russian citizens or travellers with visas are allowed on board. Just minutes later, the bus is at the Storskog border station. No private vehicles are allowed through. Before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, traffic was heavy on these roads, says Frode Berge of Norway. He was a border official for many years and had some extremely unpleasant experiences with Russian authorities, even spending 2 years in a Moscow prison, accused of collaborating with the Norwegian Secret Service. It took long, drawn-out negotiations to win his freedom. Even so, he remembers the many good years he had manning his former border crossing. And he says he always had a good relationship with his Soviet and later Russian counterparts. He seems deeply concerned about the return of Cold War-style relations between the two countries.
The responsibility for the bad relations between our countries lies entirely with Russia and its actions. All these years, we in Kirkenes lived very well from the cross-border trade. We went over to the Russian side, and the Russians came over here to Kirkenes. We Norwegians had settled into this state of affairs so comfortably that we refused to see the looming dangers.
Verekina writes about those dangers for her new employer, the Barents Observer. The online newspaper discusses the threats posed by the Putin regime and includes a Russian-language version. After she fled Moscow, the journalist began publishing her reports on this platform, joined by 3 more Russian colleagues and critics of the regime who no longer felt safe in Russia.
There are lots of Russians living in Kirkenes, and they travel also back and forth every day, some of them, this bus to Murmansk. So I think in general, Russians here try to distance themselves from politics. One of the reasons obviously is just because they are just not interested, but some of them are afraid. There is a lot of fear.
The fear is quite justified. Even along the border with Norway, Russia has been known to stage disruptions. The Barents Observer reports on them.
We have seen cables and subsea cables that are cut. We have seen mapping of critical infrastructure. We have seen that the Russian Orthodox Church, that is very closely linked with the Russian military intelligence, tried to establish contacts with certain kind of areas of the Norwegian society, including those working with subsea technologies and so on.
The long arm of Moscow even reaches into Norway. Verekina sees another example on her way home from work every day.
And so this is the main entrance to the Russian consulate, and right in front you can see a memorial to the Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who died in Russian prison, spontaneously created by the local activists. Sometimes next morning people come over and see that all the photos are scrapped away, flowers destroyed, some slurs are written over his face, and unfortunately this happens regularly here.
Norway's relations with its big and powerful neighbour are more tense than ever. But one last bus is still making its run to and from Russia.